Welcome to LSC. It's Sports Time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me Ron Bayton, who is the girls track coach over at Hampton High School, but he's done a lot of other things than track at Hampton. Welcome. Glad to have you here.
You know, Bob, all right.
Listen, let's go back to when you first started running. You started running track when you were just a youngster.
Yeah, well, you know, way back in the day, you know, it was a thing where you raced in the streets. You found who was the fastest guy. And then when they opened up Lindsay in 1968, I joined the track team. So that was my first official competition.
So that was your first taste of being coached by track.
Right.
And who was your coach back then?
Al Inslee.
Al Inslee ended up going over to Bethel helping Kozlowski over there.
Right, ended up being an administrator.
Right. All right, now when you first started at Lindsay, do you remember what it was like and what the events that you were in?
Well, I ran the 4x200. They called it 880-yard relay.
Right.
That was my specialty. Our team was loaded. I just ran one event. We won the city championship that year.
Wow.
And there were guys on that team that could beat me.
And you were the sprinter.
I was a sprinter. Yeah.
All right, then you went to Hampton High, ran track for a coach who's still over there.
Fred Hamilton.
And Fred and you're coaching with Fred.
Coaching with him. He coaches the boys, I coach the girls. He's the dean of the coaches in the Peninsula District.
Yeah, he's been coaching track for a long, long time.
Forever.
Yeah. So when you went to Hampton, were you still a sprinter, or what were your events?
Well, I ran the 400, 200, the 100, but back then, if you ran the 100, you ran everything.
Right.
And by track definition, a sprinter is anything from the 400 on down. So yeah, I was a sprinter.
Well, you know, when I went to school, the 400 was more of a distance.
Right.
There wasn't, but now, it evolved into being a sprint.
Well, when you look at the fact that the world record is, 43 seconds? Can you imagine a man running around a track in 43 seconds for a quarter of a mile? They use starting blocks in the 400 now.
Yeah, see, we used to do it standing up.
Right, exactly, right. That's right.
All right, then you graduated from Hampton.
Right.
You had a good career over there.
Right.
Enjoyed that, had some good experiences.
Right.
Then you went to Norfolk State.
Went to Norfolk State. I didn't get a scholarship. I had an offer, but it was a smaller school. But I had always said I wanted to go to Norfolk State. So I went out there as a walk-on, and we had a time trial. It was myself and another guy who was walking on, and it was a time trial in the 400 meters. I beat the guy in the 400 meters by maybe, say, 20 or 30 meters. The coach took him to the meet instead of me.
Well, see, that just doesn't make sense, does it?
Exactly. Now, the guy that was coaching was the interim coach because Dick Price was the track coach up until that point. Then Dick got into football.
Right. Well, they named the stadium off of him.
Right.
Yeah.
I never had the opportunity to run under Dick Price. Dick Price was all into football then. So this guy, well, you know, you don't want to say he didn't know what he was doing, but it was obvious. And that motivated me to coach. I said, if I ever coach, I would never do a child like that. You have a time trial, and the best man goes to the meet. I stayed home.
See, and you know, and that could have been the end of it for you.
Sure could have.
You could have said, "All right, well, that's the way it's going to be. Then I'm just not going to run anymore."
Yeah.
But you didn't do that.
No, I was bitter. I was very bitter. But you know, such is life. So I joined a local track club.
Okay, and what was who's the track coach?
Well,
I mean, it wasn't a coach; it was a club.
Well, right. It was the Peninsula Spikes. And back then, there was no one coach because most of the guys like myself, we had run track before, so we knew what it took to get prepared, you know. And a lot of those guys are coaching there.
All right. So when you're doing that, you have to develop your own philosophy on how to get in condition for sprints.
Right.
But when you're coaching, then you have to different philosophy for distance and whatever.
Right.
But what did you do as a sprinter? Let's take me through a one-day workout.
For me, at that time, I was training for the 200. So I would run 150s, 80s. I would do 300s. A lot of the philosophy I gained then was based on my experiences as a runner.
Right. But so, you know, when you say at 150s and 80s, we're not talking one. We're talking multiple.
Multiple, right. I would do
with so much time in between?
Maximum rest because it's a sprint. And when you train in sprinters, you want to give them maximum rest because you're trying to achieve maximum performance. All
right, so you started coaching in 79?
No, actually, it was 1976, and I was competing. And actually in 75, I was competing, and I went to a meet up in Richmond, and they had some kids running. I said, we ought to bring something like that back to Hampton. So I had a neighbor, and in him in the competition, and this was in 1976, he won the state. He won the state in his age group.
Wow.
And my intention was just to take a few guys and just let them compete. So in 1977, he brought his relatives and his neighbors, and we just had a little thing going on during the summer. 1980 was when I joined the recreation department.
Right.
And Steve Hobson told me about a program called the Hershey's Track and Field Program. And he said, you want it? And I said, yeah, well, why not? So we put a sign up. I had about 72 kids signed up.
72?
And the program, at the time, it was for boys and girls. At that time, I was just coaching boys. I just put a sign up. If the girls want to run, why not come out? Girls came out in droves. And that's when I first started coaching girls track.
All right. Now, what's the best kept secret on the peninsula?
Well, the best kept secret in Tidewater is girls track. We have some of the top girls in the country in this area. Girls track is equivalent to boys football.
Wow.
Yeah. It is the greatest kept secret. I can show you numbers that support the fact that there are more scholarships in girls track than there is in girls basketball.
Wow.
Yeah.
That says a lot. Let's talk about some of the young ladies that you had come through the program before they ever got to high school.
Right.
And they became real good at high school, but
right.
Let's talk about some of those.
Well, we've had, it's hard to name names, but I can name you a few off the top. We have Francina McCrory, who is just turned pro, came out of HU, she started with us. I had her over at Jeff Davis, because I used to do a JV program over there.
Right. She ended up at Bethel, right?
She ended up at Bethel, right. We thought we were going to have her at Hampton High School, but they moved right behind Aberdeen School.
Okay.
And Tierra Brown, who just won the NCAA's 400 hurdles. I had Tierra when she started at 12 years old. And I was fortunate to have her at Hampton High School. She won the state and the hurdles. She has the state record in the 100 hurdles. She's getting ready to turn pro, probably as we speak. Then you have Era Towns. Era Towns started with us, went to Bethel High School, numerous state championships, went to Indiana. She's an assistant coach at Bethel, just to name a few.
She went back to Bethel?
She went back to Bethel.
How about
and
that?
On the boys' side, we had Chris McBride, whose son plays for Bethel High School. They won a national championship for me back in 1986, along with Troy Fullwood, who is a teacher at Lindsay.
Yeah, in fact, I just got done talking to Troy. But let's go back here just a second, because all these youngsters, they become national champions. How does that work? Where do they go to those meets?
Well, to be honest, in this business, when you win, you got talent. When you lose, you don't know what you're doing. When we get those kids are talented. The difference is kids mature at a gradual level, but the great ones show early, and you can spot that. Okay. And that's what happens. So what we do, we get them out, we talk to them. First thing I ask the kid, how you doing in school? Because you and I know you can be the greatest athlete in the world, no grades, no play. That's just the way it is.
Student first.
Right. And the second component, which is probably the most important component, is parental involvement. I have had a lot of kids that could have won nationals, could have gone on to college, but their parents would not get them out there. Bob, you would be surprised.
Isn't that something?
You read the book and it says, little Johnny signs up, mother brings him out, pays the fee, and it does not work that way. You'd be surprised. So that's how we get them. And when we first started, we were the only track program around here in Tidewater. But now you have several track clubs. And at the time, it was just USA Track and Field, and everything went out of Richmond. We got together, a few coaches and myself up in Roanoke, and we got the AAU started. And now AAU is the largest program in the country.
The largest in the country, not in the state, but in the country.
Largest youth, yeah. Everybody says USA Track. USA Track may be the governing body of track and field, but AAU has maybe like 11,000 come to the national championships.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now tell me a little bit about Insider Track.
Well, Inside Track, actually, when I started, we were like just Hampton Track Club, because we worked out in the recreation department. I have a good friend he was up at Christopher Newport, Ron Garner. He started the Inside Track Club because it was named after a shoe store, David Romaine. He was a runner, and he had a track club. So Ron approached me and asked me if I would run my kids under his name so we'd have one big organization. I said, yeah, why not? Just a name. So we took over the Inside Track name. Ron left the area, went on down to Clemson, Illinois, and Inside Track's been going ever since then.
So he kept right on going.
Kept on going.
That started.
Yeah, and we are the oldest continuous track and field club in the state now.
How about that?
There was a club that started before us, but they have disbanded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about taking over at Hampton with the girls.
Right. I've been coaching at Hampton High since I think it was 2001.
2001, I think.
Right, 2001 to 2002 school year, right. And that first year, woo! I think we scored 1 point in the district meet indoors. That was a total rebuilding year.
Okay.
The next year was a little better. I was fortunate that I had a lot of kids coming from AAU, happened to be in the Hampton High School zone.
Wow.
And they came in and we just built it from there. We've never won a state championship, but we've had 2 All-American relay teams over there. And off that team, each one of those girls is going to college. Tiara is one of them. She's getting ready to come out this year. She's going pro. Lisa Pickett just came out of Norfolk State last year. Ashley Cook came out of NC Central. We have Quanika Brown right now is at Memphis. Christina Chapman's at UVA getting ready to come out. So that was a pretty successful group. Right. But again, Bob, that team probably had about, I would say, a 3.7 GPA total. Yeah.
So you're not just talking athletes, you're talking students with tremendous credentials.
Right. But it's always been a knock on athletes that, they don't do good in school and they quote dumb jock. That's not true. Your athletes are usually your smartest kids. It's just that they don't allow the time to apply themselves.
Yeah, well, and I've always believed that because they know how to allot time. They do it with their sports, so they do it with their academics.
That's right.
All right, we're going to take a jump here and go to Channel 5. In 1978, you came in, and Dr. Sam Still
1986.
86. And Dr. Sam Still was still here, and you basically took over Sam Jr.'s sideline thing.
Right.
Tell me about the first game that you did for us.
Well, the first game that I did by myself on the ground, I'm the ground man. There was a little story behind that. It was a Hampton-Bethel game. It was a game that Bethel beat Hampton 16-0. A week before that, I was at the Bethel-Denby football game, and I was standing along the fence. Where the players come out off the field?
Right. Well,
I was there, and Albert's man, a couple of other crabbers was standing. They were just watching, mind their own business. So one of the Bethel players came off the sideline. He looked up to one of the Hampton guys. He said, "Next week, baby." So the Hampton coach looked at each other and said, "Next week, baby, they better worry about Denby." Well, lo and behold, when next week came, they beat Hampton 16-0. And I was at that game, and I did that game.
So, you did a lot of unique shots, and I remember seeing you on the sideline, and you sometimes would have some of your track girls come in and be your cable technicians.
Sure did. Yeah. I enjoy the ground because one thing about working for Scott, he allows you to be creative.
Right.
And on the ground, you don't necessarily get shots. You get cutaways. For instance, we may get baby shots, and I've had people come to me and say, "Can you get me on camera?" And again, we're not NBC and we're not CBS. We're just a good old hometown station, and we're like a family. And to me, that's what Hampton City School is all about. Getting the crowd shots and the people over there selling the T-shirts, and along with the plays. That kind of gives that hometown flavor. But on the flip side, though, I take the position very seriously. I studied the game. I probably knew Hampton's offense better than the opponents did, because you have to know what play is going to come with. You just don't stay on the sideline with a camera, And
you got to have some idea what's happening.
You have to have some idea. With Hampton High School, when Ronald Curry was playing, on first down, Mike Smith would either throw the ball or Curry would run. Very rarely would they just run the ball on first down like a lot of teams do.
All right.
Yeah.
So you had a good time doing this, did you?
Well, but but you know what I'm going to say. The best part was when you and Tim would go back in time. He would say, "From Darling Stadium in Hampton," and he would say, "Bob, it just doesn't get any better than this," and you would say,
"Yeah, it doesn't get any better than this."
That's fun. That was fun.
Yeah. Well, we sure enjoyed that. I'm going to wrap this thing up, but I want you to give me your sales pitch to the youngsters that you want to get involved in track.
Well, when I go to recruit a child, I never tell them, if you run, you can go to the Olympics. You can do this, you can do that. I ask them, do they want to participate? I tell them they have good potential and it can take them a long ways. Unlike a lot of sports, track, you either have it or you don't. A stopwatch is a universal measuring tool. If a child, say a 10-year-old girl runs a 12.5 and 100 meters, that's a 12.5 anywhere in the world. And we know when we recruit the kids, they have potential. It's just our job trying to sell them and to get them to come out and use it. And we tell them, yeah, there's some girls that have gone to college, some that have not.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I appreciate you coming in.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Ron Bayton. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Until next time.